Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome in to the Gramlich and Mac Lane podcast. Mac, I gave a hint on Twitter about who our guest is today, and so did you. And the hint was very simple. It was, this man wears orange, which, could go either way because the big game this weekend is Clemson, Syracuse. But if you guessed Garrett Shrader, you are correct. The quarterback from Syracuse, who is a brand new man, but according to him, he's not. So it was a very interesting interview. He gave us some insight on how Syracuse has been able to do what they're doing this year, how he has been able to improve so much. It was really fun to talk with him, Mac.
It absolutely was. And just as you mentioned, a massive game in the Atlantic Division. And if I've said that before, I have. This is almost the exact same introduction that we've done for a couple of our guests that are in the Atlantic Division. It just feels like, KG, there's going to be a lot of momentum type games where they have a lot of they could do to swing that thing and see who ends up in Charlotte there. But the undefeated, the number 14 ranked in the country, Syracuse Orange. Of course, we had to talk to QB1 Garrett Shrader. They're going to the Valley to take on number 5 Clemson. We just had to talk to him. I wanted to see where his head was, and he did not disappoint at all.
He was confident. That is a little teaser for this interview, as he should be. His team's undefeated. They're number 14 in the country, and this offense is absolutely balling. So before we intro Garrett, I just want to remind our listeners here, Mac, we are on YouTube. If you haven't found us yet, go check us out. The YouTube growth since May, since we launched the YouTube page, has been amazing. And right now we are very close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. If you don't have a YouTube account, let me be honest, Mac. Before we launched YouTube, I didn't have a YouTube account. Now I do, and now I'm on YouTube all the time. There's so much to watch, and it's like quick little snippets, and you can watch all sorts of things. I don't know how this became an ad for YouTube, but anyway, go make an account, subscribe to Gramlich and Mac Lane on YouTube, like the video, comment where you can. We would love to see that, but just a little shameless plug. Go subscribe. Get us to
That's right. Nothing wrong with that. Listen, we had a lot of fun with this interview, some off-the-field stuff, a lot of on-the-field stuff, but let's jump into this conversation with the Cuse QB. Garrett, welcome into the podcast, my man. Really appreciate your time today. There's so many places that I wanted to go with this discussion, but I finally landed on this one here. You're a pilot, and somehow you have your pilot's license. Tell me, how did this come about? How did you want to be a pilot, and what is your experience? Like, are you flying the team to their game? Like, are you flying to Clemson this weekend?
No, I'm not. First of all, thanks for having me. The piloting, it runs in my family. My great-grandfather was a World War II pilot.
Wow.
And, he did a lot of stuff that, and then obviously when you do that, he was a commercial pilot for a long time and for Piedmont Air after that. And then my grandfather, he could legally fly a plane before he could drive on a United States road, which is a funny story, actually. And then, so it just runs in the family. My mom had a midlife crisis and I guess she was a lot younger than that, and then started getting her, and she got pregnant with my older sister, so I just we skipped that generation, and it picked up with me, so it was awesome.
How about that? So do you fly frequently? Is this a hobby, or is this kind of a one-off deal here?
Yeah, no, it's a hobby right now. It's just
That's awesome.
When COVID happened, I was in the transfer portal. It was just the perfect opportunity. I don't think I'll have another break like that and for the rest of my life to be able to take the time to go sit down and get it. So I did it in 3 months, which is unheard of. And but no, I only really fly when I get home. Up here, it's all football. So
wow, okay. This is the only pilot that I know of in FBS. I don't know, Garrett, if you know of other pilots, but I think that's a pretty unique thing. So that's really cool. And then another thing we've heard about you. Again, we do our research here, Garrett, on the podcast. We've heard that you are somewhat of a team mechanic. Like if something goes wrong with one of your guys' cars, you're able to fix it. Is this true?
Yeah, normally, it's just because small stuff. It's nothing that's like, we're not trying to take out a transmission and put it back in. But, just little stuff that comes up, and now it's kind of hard, especially when it's getting cold and wet and rainy. You can't really, don't have a lot of time to do anything. So a lot of my car broke down the other day. It was a '97 Expedition, it had 500,000 miles on it. And
Gosh,
500,000 miles.
original. I mean, well, the
Wow.
odometer said like 392, but it stopped working in 2010. So
Yeah, you replaced it. You had to replace the engine or the odometer. Okay, I understand. So, do you have like a discount code for some of your offensive teammates, and you double the defensive guys, or how does that work when you take care of guys?
yeah, it depends on how practice is going, and it just depends.
I love that, man. I love it. Well, listen, again, it sounds like you're just a good old country boy that, you just call it like you see it. And I think I'm very much the same way. And I just want to discuss your development, man, as we jump kind of into football here. And, going from last year where you were a 52% passer to now over a 70% passer for being dink and dump and kind of taking what a defense gives you to pushing the ball downfield, really taking shots and getting in the end zone for your team and being this, confident guy throwing the football. I want to approach this two ways, starting with you personally and your development, things that you did. What did that look like from the off season, from the summer, just things that you would do that everything that I read, even last year, you're like, I know that we can do better than this. I know that we can do more than what we're doing. So what did that look like from just a you perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, it just starts with the road that I've had. It's definitely the road less traveled. It seems like for a lot of people in college football, just having all those different OCs, and I was at a new school, so coming in Syracuse, I was competing for the job and wasn't always taking all those reps and all those things. But eventually, when Coach Babers gave me the go ahead, just kind of trying to build that team around what we were good at. And obviously, when we got Sean Tucker, we were running the ball very well. And that was kind of the forefront of our plan. And, we only threw when we had to. And a lot of times that was on 3rd and long. So that kind of helps with the efficiency or hurts the efficiency. And those obvious pass down situations. And then a little bit of the scheme, too, the stuff that we were running, we just weren't very efficient at or good at either. So, but this year, I'd say, it started with the off season, but, huge, a lot of that credit goes to Coach Nye and Coach Beck and the system that they've installed and given us. And then they're really hands off when it comes to just learning and teaching. So like they'll give you the information they expect, or they have the information for you and they expect you to come take it and grow with it. So we've kind of made this offense our own. And like they said, no team is always the same. And we weren't expected to be Virginia, especially because they had a little different skill sets and. But so we were expected to be a lot more run heavy, but now, I mean, as the season's going on, we're pretty good at throwing the ball, and we're at our best when we're spreading out, and then that just opens up stuff for Sean. So we're continuing to build our identity, and we've still got a long way to go, and we're only getting better. So good.
I love that, man, and I think when you bring up Coach and I, and you bring up looking like Virginia and things of that nature. I was jacked up in the preseason, man. When that happened and when those coaches and Coach Beck and Coach and I were hired at Syracuse, I was thinking, man, what is this going to look like? Because you have two absolute weapons in yourself and Sean Tucker, and then I knew that they would fill in the pieces. But the creativity, the things that you do schematically, motions, getting Sean all over the place, same thing with your wide receivers. I mean, we put Gadsden in the backfield, ran a rail route with them, and you hit a wide open touchdown. How much fun has that been? To just be an offense that is creative, that's going to get their playmakers the best ability to score and to be successful.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. It's fun to see because no game plan is ever the same. Like last year, we kind of were running the same stuff over and over again. But getting those guys in those opportunities in different positions, and then obviously you got to go out and play it. And I think the most exciting thing for us is that we know offensively we have not even come close to playing our best football. Or even playing a complete game this year. So that's fun. That's fun knowing that going into this week, especially with a team that we feel like we match up really well against. So it'll be exciting. We love what we got, and as we start to watch some more. And like I said, I was doing tutoring this morning, trying to knock out all this homework so I could just study for the rest of the week.
We like that, Garrett. We know that student athlete grind. Getting that work done early. And you mentioned the matchup this week. We will get to that. We promise. Can't wait to break down some Syracuse Clemson. But I did see a lot of coverage online and some different articles that were written about your work with QB country in North Carolina and some of the coverage there. And I would just love if you could give us one or two things that you specifically, take out the new scheme, take out Coach and I and Coach Beck, one or two things that you specifically worked on in the off season that you think has really paid dividends now.
Yeah, I mean, I work. Anthony Boone is the name of my quarterback trainer down there in Charlotte, and he's one of the best in the country. There's no doubt about that. And just the stuff he works with a bunch of NFL guys, like PJ, at Carolina. He's worked with Daniel Jones for a little bit because they're all those Charlotte guys. But Sam Howell now, who has just left UNC, we all kind of work out together. So I mean, I haven't really changed a whole lot, despite what everybody says. Because the way you throw is the way you throw, and I've always felt confident in my ability. It wasn't a matter of how it was getting done. It was more of what we were doing on the field, X's and O's wise, that was a little bit limiting. But and even throughout the history of the offense, the highest person ever completion percentage wise, I think, was Jimmy G at EIU, and he was right above 60%. So when you put that into perspective, I mean, statistically, it's not very exciting outside with everybody else, but relatively, it's just what you kind of what you deal with. But no, I mean, I work with them, just trying to stay sharp and talk football IQ and just do all that stuff, the game plan stuff. But I mean, I haven't changed a whole lot, but just been steady working and trying to be as consistent as possible.
How about your relationship with Coach Beck? It seems like he's the voice of reason. It seems like he's this calm guy. How has that been since you guys have known each other?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is a pretty mellow guy. I mean, even this weekend when everybody, Coach and I was yelling at me after, because we had 2 turnovers. Coach Beck's just he'll just be like, "What are you thinking there?" That kind of stuff. But he definitely is. He understands because he's played the position, he's played the game, and he knows how things go. And I feel like he trusts what I see because after a while, I've showed to him that we pretty much see the same thing out in the field. But it's just the way he goes about talking about the game. And you might make what you think is a really nice throw. He's just like, "Hey man, nice throw there." And then let's just skip the next play. It's just I don't know. It's just the whole mindset. And the more I've been able to be around him and work with him, he's kind of given me that same insight. And so I'm always trying to see things on the same page as him. And the more that we do that, the better things have been working out. And we've had a much higher.
Garrett, there's no doubt. I mean, that's the numbers have shown that. And we know you're a big guy. I mean, you fit that mold of kind of the bigger quarterback who can use his legs, but you do have speed, which is, a very unique skill set. Is there a guy out there, a quarterback or two that you've loved to watch for the past couple of years that I know you're your own quarterback, but maybe that you model your game after? Is there a QB or two that you could name?
Yeah, I kind of moved around. Everybody kind of compares me to Josh Allen right now just because of, the New York and, big guy. We're pretty similar in stature too. But, I mean, I just love watching good football. So I watch a lot of Mahomes. I'd say Brett Favre is probably all the time one of my favorite guys to watch. And only watch him at least once a week.
Come on, gunslinger mentality, man. I like that.
But no, I like Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Those are probably my 3 that I watch the most.
Okay, I like that. And then we've talked about this on our episode that came out on Monday, just recapping the win over NC State. And we've mentioned him quite a few times because of his emergence. But a guy like Oronde Gadsden II, which, first of all, great name. But when we were talking about Syracuse in the preseason, we knew, okay, there's a 2-headed monster. It's Shrader and Tucker. Who else can emerge? And Gadsden has really been that guy. He's become your go-to. I mean, his numbers are incredible. Did you feel like that was going to be the case? Did you see that in the offseason? What's your relationship like with him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, OG, he's a big, strong receiver, and he runs very well. And we got him at that flex Y, so he's a tight end, especially on the roster. And so, when you have him in the slot, a big guy like that, he's always matched up against safeties. And, his whole life he's been an outside receiver playing against corners, especially down there in Florida, so he knows how to run routes and get open. But him just being against those corners and those slot guys, I mean, it's a tough matchup, and especially with all the stuff we do offensively, it's tough for them to guard him. And I mean, he's really smart and a heady football player, so he knows how to find space and get open, just within the context of the scheme. So that's why he's been so successful.
Let's go big picture here, G, because it's something before we dive into this Clemson conversation. You guys are undefeated. You're 14th in the country. Did you expect this? Did you think this? I know you're confident. I know you're a confident guy, but I mean, this is truly remarkable to see this run that Syracuse is on and how you guys are playing at such a high level right now.
Yeah, no, I had no doubt going in, especially after last season. And, I mean, it was so frustrating because we were 5-7 last year, and if you take 3 minutes of our season on the upper end, I mean, we could easily had 8, 9, even 10 wins. And because 3 of them came in the same week all came down to the last, or in the 1 month, it all came down to the last play. So just knowing the stuff that we were doing and the fact that we were competitive in those games was, it was promising. And then with the new offense, when we got to spring ball, in practice, we could barely move the ball in our defense last year. And we'd come out the first 4 or 5 practices of spring ball, we were just giving it to them. So that's kind of when we knew. And then that back and forth, defense get us one day, and then we get them one day. That kind of started going. So that competitiveness, that's how we knew we were going to be good.
Well, and you also knew you were going to be good because you have Sean Tucker, and this guy is one of the best players in the country. Now, you knew you were going to be good, 6-0. Some people doubted you. I like that you didn't. But you've probably heard this question a million times, and this guy is just so good. But what makes Sean Tucker that good? What's the difference with him?
I mean, he sees the hole well, and a lot of it, you got to give credit to our Coach Schmidt and our run game scheme. We kind of struggled early compared to last year with what we were doing, and just find the right personnel that we can be the most efficient with and effective with. And I feel like last week that was our first week really growing with that identity. So, but just giving them the opportunity to run on safeties and have make one guy miss, and it makes it when he can do that, it makes it a lot easier for us to run the ball. And he does a lot of spectacular things. He's fast, he's explosive, he's strong, he can catch the ball. So we even put him out in that slot receiver out wide and just in space if he can because he can catch the ball, and then linebackers not used to guard him out there. So doing that kind of stuff.
I love what you brought up there about your defense earlier, and just said they were kind of picking on us, and now we start getting even. Now we start winning. I mean, I felt like for a couple of years now, this defense was right on the verge of being very special, and now they developed into the number 1 defense in the ACC. You see these guys each and every day. What has allowed them? How have they gotten to this consistent level where they are the number 1 defense in the conference?
I mean, it starts with Coach White. He does it's just the mentality he instills in them and the energy and passion he brings to the game. But and then it trickles down. I'd like to say that linebacking core, and then then I say that's where it starts next. And then they set the tone, and then everybody else kind of falls in line. But like our the DBs especially, they got a whole newfound kind of juice to them and confidence and swag about them. And then the D line, who had a lot of doubts and speculation about how good they were going to be, but they have been more than holding their own. There has not been a lot of drop off there, so they've been doing a good job.
Garrett, I think it's time to talk a little Clemson-Syracuse here, and it's been such an interesting series between these two teams, and you could argue that Syracuse, of every team in the ACC, has played Clemson the toughest over the last 5-6 years since that win up in the Dome in 2017. So for you, that was a very close game last year. Clemson barely won it up in the Dome. Now it's down in Death Valley. Give me your initial thoughts on this game, and also your initial thoughts on playing Clemson down in Death Valley.
Yeah, I think it'll be an exciting atmosphere, and we've already started practicing for for that atmosphere that we're going to be playing in. And, I'm excited. This is what you play the game for, these kind of games, and I think it'll be exciting. And especially knowing that we matched up really well against them historically, even knowing now that we're more talented and more explosive than we ever have been. So I'd like to see how it's going to play out. But and just kind of compare that and add in that environment to it. There's definitely a lot of excitement in the air, and we're ready to get practice. And just the more I watch them, the more excited I get. So it'll be a fun game.
Well, the rest of us are excited too. Garrett, do you have any thoughts? I know this is only your second year at Syracuse, but do you have any thoughts on why Syracuse has played Clemson so closely over the last couple of years?
I don't know. I mean, just playing a top ranked team in the country. Obviously, you want to play them tough, but I mean, I can't pinpoint one reason, but I mean, just schematically, it's stuff. They got a great, they got a great club, and they got there's that D line they got is really very stout, and then that kind of sets the tone for their defense. But Coach Sweeney's been doing a good job too as well, just building that program. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm excited. I think this is our year to take them down, and I mean there'd be no better way to do it than Death Valley.
That's right, man. It's a hard place to play. Those guys haven't lost there in a long, long time. So an amazing feat that certainly would be. You bring up that defensive line and just how special they are, the problems that they can cause when you're facing a team like that. How does that change your process post snap, knowing that maybe that clock's a little quicker?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna account for that and try to neutralize them a little bit with through different ways to get them tired. But I mean, just gonna trust Coach Nye and his offensive staff and what they're gonna do. And I know they're meeting right now and probably getting all that stuff ready. So I'll go see them in a little bit and we'll figure out what we're doing. But I mean, I don't know. I can play tomorrow, but
Yeah, we would be down for that. How about just a series, 5 or 6 games in a row? That might be tough on you guys. Well, we don't want to keep you from going to talk to Coach Beck and Coach Anai and getting this game plan ready to go. So before we get out of here, Garrett, could you give us a couple keys? I mean, don't give away too much, obviously, but if Syracuse were to upset Clemson in Death Valley, what will have gone right for you guys?
I mean, I'd probably say, obviously, turnovers is the big thing, and the penalties. Those should be the number one things, or the two things that have been holding us back the most from really being who we're capable of being. Then outside of that, just keep doing the routine stuff that we've been doing and capitalize. And once you get past the 50, and I have no doubt that we're gonna do that this weekend. And excited. But and explosive plays as well. There's gonna be opportunities when the big plays are there. You gotta make them happen. You gotta make them hit. So.
There you go, big man. Well, we're super excited to watch this game. Very grateful for your time. Go study up, get that homework done, and let's get to all ball, my man. I appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Man, that was a lot of fun, KG. Talking to our guy, Garrett Shrader there, the confidence was just oozing out of him, which I love because especially in a matchup like this where you're going to Death Valley, where they have not lost a game since I think 2016. It's like 100 million games in a row there. Good thing it's not a night game. It's a noon kickoff. But that place is going to be rocking. And so you need your best foot forward. Certainly sounds like Garrett Shrader is going to have it. I love that interview. That was a ton of fun.
I loved his confidence. And I think he should be. He should be confident. And you can tell he's a no-nonsense kind of guy.
Yes.
And I thought it was very interesting, when we say, look, your numbers, like your completion percentage has gone up 18%. You're, on all these watch lists. Your team's undefeated. You're playing great football. And he really said that he didn't change much. Mm-hmm. And I think he meant that in a humble way. Like, I'm still doing what I do, but the scheme has been so different, and the scheme has really accentuated his skill set. It shows how important scheme is in college football and how important having that continuity with your offensive coordinator. We've seen the complete opposite happen at Virginia and at Miami. A new scheme, even though TVD is still throwing for 1 billion yards, but a new scheme, if the player feels like it doesn't accentuate his skill set, I think there can be a problem. And it seemed like that was the deal last year with Syracuse. Credit Dino Babers for making this switch. And I'm sure that he and Dino had some conversations in the offseason where Dino's saying, look, we're going to get you a better scheme. And it has absolutely paid off. So it's really a cautionary tale about how important fit and scheme is in college football.
No, I don't think there's any question about that. I will say I do think there's a little bit of credit that he needs to give himself more, just either locking in or doing, different things, because I'm reflecting back and I'm thinking, there was a couple of passes where I'm just like, what's this guy doing? He's throwing ducks, he's airmailing stuff, and I haven't seen that at all this year. So I do agree with the scheme. It's tremendous. It's very important, but he has gotten much better. And so give yourself a little credit there, G. You're doing better. KG, one thing that I thought was was interesting that you asked him, you said, why has Syracuse had this success where they're kind of that thorn in Clemson's side, where they've played them very well since, the beginning of them coming into the ACC there. There's only really been one, maybe two blowout games in Clemson's favor. And I think you have a little hunch here. So I'm interested to see your answer.
All right. This is just a working theory here, but to Mac's point and what we were talking about with Syracuse Clemson, this series has been pretty close. Now, what people forget is that since Syracuse joined the ACC, Syracuse has only beaten Clemson once.
Right.
I think if you ask the average fan who knows that Syracuse gives Clemson fits, they would say, oh, they've beaten him at least twice. But no, it was only once in 2017 in the Dome, and that was the Kelly Bryant year for Clemson, and that was a 27-24 win for Syracuse. Here are the other close games that we've seen, though. 2014, Clemson won 16-6. 2015, Clemson won 37-27. 2018, Clemson won 27-23. That was the Chase Bryce game for Clemson. And then, of course, last year, Clemson won 17-14 in a game that, honestly, Clemson probably had no business winning. So last year, I felt like was really the year that Syracuse had the best chance to beat Clemson. And then maybe the year where Trevor Lawrence got hurt. But there have been a lot of close and uncomfortable games for Clemson fans. I think that it's truly a mental thing here. Now, I think that this defense is unique in many ways with how they play their backers and their secondary. And they put a lot of guys in the second half of the field. I think it's really disrupted Clemson's quarterbacks in the past. But I also think it's just a confidence factor. We couldn't get Garrett to tell us this, but I feel like there's something that happens in Clemson week in the Syracuse locker room where Dino perhaps gets up and tells the inspirational story about 2017. And there are guys that there's probably no one left that played in that game, but the stories have kind of been passed down. It's like folklore up at Syracuse. And you think of the games last year, it's like every couple years, Syracuse plays them really close. So you have the confidence in whatever set of players is still on the roster. And the bottom line here is I think Syracuse is just, since 2017 and maybe even earlier, they haven't been afraid. They're not afraid of Clemson. There's no fear. And I think that Dino fosters that in the locker room.
I'm not laughing at your point. I'm laughing at how it was presented and that it is folklore that has been
passed down
through
legend.
The seniors take the young freshmen to the hieroglyphics on the wall and say, we've done this before. We can do this.
That's what happens.
I love it. I don't know what it is, but they play them well, seemingly all the time, and they have a really good plan. So credit Coach Babers, credit these staff that have been there before these guys, and they get it going. When I look at this game, KG, I don't think there's ever been higher stakes played in this game than right now. I don't think these teams have ever. I know that. I know they've never been undefeated playing each other. And winner essentially going to Charlotte to play in the ACC championship. Now, Syracuse schedule starting with Clemson is very difficult. This thing speeds up in a hurry. So that's your reward, for going 6-0 here. And then the Tigers, it's a moderate. It's okay. They do play Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
But
they have Miami coming to town. Yeah, it's not for conference play. So, when I look at that, KG, I think there is a ton of pressure on Syracuse to get this gauntlet started off in the right way and not necessarily a W, but just playing at a high level because it gets really tough in a hurry here, KG.
I hear that with Syracuse's remaining schedule. They have Clemson, Notre Dame, Pitt, Florida State, Wake, BC. So very tough road ahead. But the pressure is still on Clemson here. And I think that's another thing that helps Syracuse in these matchups. Even though Syracuse has played Clemson well, the pressure's never on Syracuse in these games. Syracuse has surprised everybody with what they've done. So the pressure is going to be on Clemson. I do think from a big picture perspective, the fact that this game's at noon is a positive. The 27-23 Chase Bryce game was a noon game. So you want to play at noon on the road. I think that's good for Syracuse. And right now, as of Monday, when we're recording this, Clemson is a 13-point favorite. We will break down the X's and O's of this game more on Friday. But Mac, overall, how do you feel about that number? 13 points is what Syracuse is getting.
It's interesting. I'm going to do some research as I babble here because I received a text message on Sunday from one of my producers who was a little bit upset because I tried to get him to bite on a different number. He texted me it was minus 16.5. So if that's true, I'm not sure where he got that, but it's already gone down 3.5 points. So, people probably saw that and said, absolutely, we're taking Cuse with the number here. Let's do it. So I think that is an interesting point. Kind of reverse history is happening right before our eyes here because Clemson is covering very well this year. Normally they don't. In
last
very
year,
recent
they were one
history.
of the worst teams in the ACC in terms of covering the number.
Right, and that probably was what it was. And I probably need to look at the 2 years before that, which I still think historically we haven't been good at covering the spreads there. So it's a fascinating number. I think the over/under might be more fascinating at 51 right now. Will be interesting to see what happens with that line, but. Two really good defenses. I mean, the statistical number one defense in the ACC in Syracuse, and then Clemson. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know the challenges that they can provide for any team, and a team that's getting better. The one kind of overarching key for me, and this will probably be my key on Friday as well, is can Syracuse run the ball like FSU did? Because that's something we haven't seen maybe since like 2014 when Clemson played Georgia, because Georgia just housed us. We couldn't tackle any of their running backs. They were running all over the yard.
Max says us because he played in that game.
I was there. I witnessed it. I was in it. And what was interesting about that was we went on to have the number one defense in the country that year with total defense, points, yards, all these different things. And so it was last week an awakening for Clemson, or was it kind of this spotlight of, because they've already kind of got awoke by Sam Hartman and throwing for, maybe that's what they needed. Or was it that spotlight of, there's a little problem here. Let's see if we can exploit this if we're Syracuse. So I'm fascinated to kind of see that game within the game chess match between Anai and Goodwin, two people that we know are just masterminds and geniuses. And it's going to be fascinating schematically to watch what happens in this game.
It really is. I do think Syracuse's defense is something that we might not talk about as much this week because everyone's so blown away by what the offense is doing at Syracuse. But as you said, this defense is the best in the ACC right now. And this is a defense that has a lot of experience against Clemson. This is a defense that held Clemson to 17 points last year. I think this defense is coming in with a lot of confidence. And overall, except for honestly like the middle eight of FSU and the fourth quarter of BC, Clemson's offense hasn't looked amazing the last 2 weeks. I think they've had some moments, some lulls in the game that Syracuse probably thinks they can take advantage of if they can force some turnovers. So I think Syracuse is almost playing its best football this year, whereas Clemson maybe isn't playing its best right now. So that's an interesting factor. But like we said, Mac, the X's and O's will come on Friday. We just wanted to hit this game a little big picture here. But I still think, what more could you ask for? Undefeated, top 15.
Yeah, come on.
And kind of the team that's been the thorn in Clemson's side a little bit.
Let's do it with all-in type of chips and make this a massive battle here. ABC, see it all for the nation. The one thing that I am interested in seeing, you're talking about a team that's playing at their best, a team that is not necessarily. What I want to know is, Clemson is battle-tested, have one of the best records in the entire country. I think it's second in the country in regards to strength of record. Cuse is not, but they're confident. So what outweighs what? Yeah. A team that has been battle-tested and has been through it and has faced adversity and knows not that Cuse has faced adversity, had a couple walk-off wins, or a team that, they're feeling really good. How much does confidence outweigh that preparation? This game's going to be so fun. I can't wait for Friday. I'm already oozing trying to get you all these stats and numbers here, but it's going to be a great match.
Okay, last thing on this game, we promise. And then we'll talk a little Georgia Tech, Virginia. Something that no one's really talking about. Syracuse has only played one road game so far. Their schedule has been quite beneficial from that regard. They are great in the Dome. They had a sold-out Dome. Their fans are showing up. The Dome has been loud. Their one road test was at UConn. That's not a test. That's a scrimmage. So
hold on. So you're telling me you're going from 2,000 fans to 90,000 fans? That's what we're going to do here? 83,000 fans?
I think that's something to keep an eye on. Something to keep an eye on that.
Under pressure.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of the road, we've got Thursday Night Lights as well. We're going to preview this game that is happening tomorrow. And it's a kind of a sad game, but it's okay. We're going to talk about it. Georgia Tech hosting Virginia. Maybe a little more sad for UVA. Georgia Tech's 3-3, 2-1 in the league. Georgia Tech, since they fired Jeff Collins, they're undefeated. They are hosting Virginia, who's 2-4 and 0-3 in the league. This is a 7:30 p.m. kick on ESPN Thursday night. Georgia Tech's a 3.5-point favorite. Georgia Tech has looked good at home. They just beat Duke, a team who should have beaten UNC last week, as we talked about. They beat Pitt on the road. They are flying high. They are feeling confident. Both teams coming off a bye, and Virginia's coaches are now at Syracuse and doing amazing things. I mean, that's really the bottom line here. I think it all relates back to Syracuse a little bit. Can Virginia put up a fight in this Thursday night game, Mac?
We'll see. We will see. Because I think what you said there with Georgia Tech, I mean, I just can't wait to watch these guys again. And when the heck would I have said that? Probably preseason. That was it. And then you saw what you saw, and you're like, okay, well, more of the same. They're playing so confident. They're playing at such a high level. I just want to see, can they keep it going? And can they really make this thing with Coastal Chaos one of the craziest years that we've ever seen? That only conference loss that they have is to the number 5 team in the country, in the Clemson Tigers. So which is in the Atlantic. They're in a really good spot right here to make some stuff crazy. I think that, myself included at times, has kind of deemed Carolina as the team that's going to be playing in Charlotte. Miami, I know they lost to Carolina, but Miami, Georgia Tech, and these guys are right in it with North Carolina. Those three, some need a little help, some control their own destiny. It's going to be fascinating to see what did these teams do and what this race ultimately looks like. Georgia Tech's throwing the ball extremely well. They're running the ball very well. Defense is playing inspired. That's not a good mismatch. That's not a good matchup for a Virginia team that doesn't know who they are, doesn't know what they want to do. Bunch of individuals called by their coach, and
drops
is going
everywhere.
to drops, lead the country in drops individually and as a team. And it's just not a good environment for them to be in. So the one thing that I am interested to see, now that they've had these 2 weeks or a week and a half, however you want to look at it, off, what do you look like?
Yeah.
What was done in that time? Was there this kumbaya moment where we all come together and we're like, Coach, you're right. We're being selfish. We're not doing the things necessary. We have all the skills to do it. Let's come together as a team. That's what we're going to find out from Virginia. Or are the wheels totally off and this thing's going to be miserable for a year? I can't wait to see
I think this
that.
game will be very telling in that regard, Mac, because they are coming off a bye. Did they use the bye to regroup, or is this kind of a lost season? And then for Georgia Tech, the bye almost came at a bad time because they're so hot. So
hot,
does that
exactly.
affect them? But, Jeff Sims, he's definitely playing like the better quarterback coming into this game, and his weapons around him are helping him more. Weird things do happen on a Thursday night. There's no doubt about that, Mac. But most of the time, you lean towards the home team on a Thursday night. So if we're going to make picks on this game because it is Thursday, I'm going to take Georgia Tech minus 3.5. I think Georgia Tech, with how hot they've been playing, how confident they've been playing, and the fact that they're at home, I think Tech finds a way to win another ACC game and stay in the race.
Absolutely amazing. I'm going with you. I totally agree. I think GT covers, and I think it's going to be over. I think offenses are going to be inspired in this game, and they get it going and figure it out. I think we might see some good football. That's what I'm hoping we see. That's all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for good football.
Hey, you guys are coming off bye weeks. There's no short week crap.
Let's
go.
And
look, Mac, you know what I can guarantee? I'm not sure who's playing on Thursday night in the NFL.
Yes,
but
I was
those
about to
Thursday
say
night
that.
games have been so hideous. There will be more points in Georgia Tech, Virginia than whatever the NFL game is.
Yes, listen, nobody has Amazon Prime anyway. Go to ESPN. It's on cable. Go to a bar. Go wherever and watch this game. You don't want to watch that bad NFL product. Come watch college football. I'm with you, KG. That a bad, unlucky spell for our boy Kirk Herbstreit with the amount of miserable Thursday night football we've seen. Yeah, he's great. He's fine. He's wiping his tears with $100 bills. He was on our podcast,
by the way.
But guys, yeah, go check it out. One of our best episodes we've had. He was great. He was great. But that's it for this episode of Grambling and Mac Lane. Big shout out to our boy TC at Syracuse, and of course Garrett Shrader for his over to YouTube. We're so close to that subscribe number. Get us to 1,000. That would be awesome accomplishment for us and for you guys following along for this fun journey. You can also go over to iTunes, the OGs, if you will, where we started this thing from the ground up. Subscribe to the channel, rate, review. Always fun to hear from y'all. But until next time, we'll see y'all.